Hey everybody, this is Dr. Matt Joosse at Joosse Family Orthodontics in Williamsburg, Virginia. And I wanted to show off this case. It's got a little bit of everything involved in it, but I think it's a great example of just kind of a few things. And so let's talk about the very first thing, and that is, this is Gunnar, and Gunnar was sent to us because he has a missing permanent tooth and he has some crowded teeth. And so that's really common. Lots of people are congenitally missing adult teeth. And in those cases, it's often great to see those people very early on. And generally speaking, there's two options. One, you can plan on keeping the baby tooth, because usually when there's a missing adult tooth, the baby tooth that would normally be displaced because of that adult tooth, you can either try to keep that into adulthood, or you can get rid of the baby tooth and try to come up with an alternative solution, either replacing the missing adult tooth or closing up space and pretend like nothing at all is missing. So very common. The other thing is crowding, right? Lots of people have crowding. And so people like Gunnar get sent to us for those reasons all the time. Now, when we take a look inside the mouth, we might realize that there's a lot more than just what he was sent to us for. So down here in the bottom right-hand side, this is a baby tooth. And underneath of that baby tooth is no adult tooth. This is where he's missing the one adult tooth. And so this was one of the primary reasons why he was referred to us. And I think it's pretty evident that you can see the crowding on both the upper and the lower arches. But when we saw Gunnar, and just from this one viewpoint, there's a couple other really important health of the bite things to notice. One of them is when you look at the upper posterior teeth, you'll notice that they're a little bit to the inside of the lower teeth. And we call this a posterior crossbite. The reason why we like to fix posterior crossbites is because crossbites in the back can contribute to people having TMJ, or jaw joint problems, later in life. So, so a very, very important thing to fix, and something which we have a much easier ability to fix early on at early ages. The second thing is a really important health of the bite thing is what we call a deep bite. It's how much the upper front teeth overlap in a vertical way the lower front teeth. So you can only see just a little bit of these lower front teeth. And when you have this situation, upper and lower front teeth take too much forces of the bite. They tend to get worn down, they get chipped, they get broken down over time. Now, this doesn't happen at 11 years old, and it usually takes some more years than that. But given enough time, you'll see these people in their 40s and 50s, and the front teeth are worn down and chipped and broken down. And again, there's no easy solutions when they get to be that way. You can spend a lot of time at the dentist, you can spend a lot of money at the dentist, and you still don't have any good solutions until you've actually put the teeth in their correct places and protected them from the bite. So this is what we saw, that, hey, he was referred to us for two things, the missing tooth and the crowding, but hey, there are some other really, really important bite issues going on. I just want to show you the lower crowding. This is not severe lower crowding, and he, by the way, is only missing one of the adult teeth in the back. So I think it's just the one on the right side here. But and then we take a look at the upper crowding. You can see is pretty evident, especially up here in the upper right. Now, the first thing that we do to treat posterior crossbites usually is place a palate expander, something that can make the upper jaw bigger. And expanding the upper jaw is something that's possible usually before age like 14 years old. You can easily expand the upper jaw because the upper jaw is, before age 14, two distinct bones that can be split apart non-surgically, so it doesn't require any surgery. Very easy to do, and what you end up happening is this U shape of the teeth gets bigger. So I don't have the palate expander pictured here, but I do have a photo from when we took the expander off and when we put braces on finally all the teeth, and you can immediately see that this is bigger. In fact, you'll notice that we actually even have extra space created here. So where there was crowding, there's no longer crowding, and that's mostly as a result of the palate expander. So the palate expander can do some really, really good things in terms of creating some extra space for us. Here is a picture of the upper teeth when we were all finished. Really nice, beautiful, straight and wide arch. So very, very happy about that. Here's a picture of those lower teeth, just for the sake of completeness. You can see them perfectly straight as well. Here's Gunnar from the front when we finished. You can see that the upper posterior teeth are now to the outside of the lower posterior teeth. You can see in the front that we can see more of the lower front teeth. So we've done what we call bite opening. And as I've showed you already, the crowding is resolved. Now we still have this one baby tooth down in the lower right-hand side. In Gunnar's case, it had a good root structure on it, so we elected to keep that tooth. And if he ever loses that tooth in the future, it can be replaced with a dental implant in the future. So we wanted to get him set up for possible restorative success in the future. One thing to notice, the middle of the upper front teeth and the middle of the lower front teeth are a little bit offline with each other. This is not necessarily one of my top priorities in treatment to get those two things to line up. I just wanted to point it out because when you keep the baby tooth down there, the baby tooth is actually bigger than the adult tooth. And so because it's bigger and it takes up more space, it shifts the lower midline a little bit to the other side. So the lower midline is off to his left side, upper midline is actually on line with his face. And that accounts for why that difference exists. Here's Gunnar. This is not his real natural smile, but you can already see a really much nicer and more aesthetic smile from where we started. And then I'd love to show you just a few kind of before and after. So there's the upper arch. You can see that the upper arch got bigger to accommodate all the teeth. You can see that they are now nice and straight. Here's the lower arch. Doesn't really change a whole lot in dimension, but you can see that all that lower crowding was resolved. Here's the comparison when you look at the teeth from the center. Obviously, we took care of everything, the posterior crossbite, the crowding, the deep bite, and so we have a much healthier bite, and we also have a much nicer smile. So also really fun just along the way to get to know great kids like Gunnar. Really enjoyed this guy, and just following him through the journey and watching him grow up. He started much smaller than I was and ended taller than me. And just growing into a great young man. So really proud of you, Gunnar, for being a fantastic patient. Congratulations on your awesome result.